Yo, what's up? My name is MOONBOY, and today we're making drum and bass. What is drum and bass? Drum and bass has been skyrocketing in popularity lately all over the world, and I really feel like next year everybody's gonna be obsessed with it. Even huge artists like deadmau5 started making it, and he actually came across a few of my tutorials. He's snarky as always though. I even met up with one of my favorite YouTubers, Cody Ko, for a studio session, and we made drum and bass. It's actually one of his favorite genres of EDM right now to listen to. Drum and bass has an entire world of subgenres. Today we're gonna be making a mixture of my favorite styles: melodic drum and bass and heavy drum and bass. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to make some dance heavy melodic drum and bass like the professionals. Step 1 to making some epic drum and bass is the drums. Let's open up our DAW. I'm using Ableton, but you can follow along in any DAW, FL Studio, Logic Pro. It's pretty much all the same. Drum and bass is typically around 160 to 180 BPM. Go up to the top left over here, and let's change the BPM to 170 because that is the most common. This is how fast your song is going to be. And as you know, drum and bass is pretty fast. Next, we need some good drum samples to build the beat. Let's use samples from my Eclipse sample pack. Now let's build our beat. Let's create an audio track for each drum sample by pressing Command T. I'm gonna rename each track to the drum sound. Let's start with a 4-bar loop. Let's start with hats on a 1/8 pattern. Add a snare on every second beat. And a kick on every beat. Then to make a 2-step pattern, we move the second kick like so. Now to spice it up, let's add a few extra things. Let's add a crash on the first beat to add some impact. Let's add some rides and open hats to add some variation. Now let's duplicate this beat to make it a full 4 bars. We can spice it up even more by adding some break loops, having the kicks rise, and even reversing a snare and a kick at the end of the 4 bars. Okay, now that we have a sick drum beat, I'm gonna duplicate this loop and create a 32 bar section for the drop. Leave a like if you're enjoying this video so far and learning something. Awesome, now you know how to make drum and bass drums. Let's move on to step number 2, the vibe. This could mean the synths, melody, chord progression. I love to start with the chord progression to build my song around. Let's create a MIDI track by pressing Command-Shift-T, and I'm gonna throw on a quick piano. Let's highlight 2 bars to create the piano loop and press Command-Shift-M. Now we have the MIDI track. For this song, I wanted a really euphoric feeling. We're gonna be using 3 chords here: D flat major, E flat minor, and F minor. Now let's print this into the MIDI clip by double clicking and selecting the notes. D flat major starts it off strong, B flat minor adds some depth to it, and then we land on F minor to resolve. Now let's change the sound to something more special. I'm gonna use a preset from my Eclipse production suite. Listen to how it changes the sound, adds some depth. It really is beautiful. With our chord progression in place, we're off to a strong start. Let's keep going and build up to the rest of our song. Step number 3, song structure. Now that we have this chord progression, we can build the song around this. Think of a chord structure as the basic building blocks of a song. So let's plan this out. I like to think of my song sections into 8 bars. So this is gonna be the intro, this is gonna be the riser, and this is gonna be the drop. We can create markers by right-clicking right here. For the intro section and riser, we're gonna have the chord progression going. A great way to structurize your song as well is to group every element together. So we're gonna group all these drums right here by selecting them all and pressing Command G. And let's call this drums. And then for the pad, let's group this. Even though it's just 1 track, we're gonna add more. We're gonna call it synths. So now we can close them up and then have a more clean project file. Now on to step number 4, the vocals. I want an ethereal, nice vocal to match this vibe of these chords. I've got the perfect thing. I recently went to the UK and recorded with a bunch of amazing and talented vocalists for my new pack, Eclipse. Let's add one of those recordings here. This is so perfect because when we were recording this, we were focused on capturing this like otherworldly, dreamy vibe, and I really feel like we nailed it. If you're having trouble finding high quality vocals like these, you can learn more about my new vocal library in the description below. Vocals are now done. Now we can move on to everyone's favorite part, the drop. The secret to making an epic drum and bass drop is by designing the most ear candy sound you can imagine. Synth number 1, the Mega Saw. Let's create a new MIDI clip by pressing Ctrl-Shift-T. Let's drag the chord progression in there, and we're gonna be using the root note of the chord progression as the drop. So the root note is always the bottom note. Now I'm gonna add Serum in here. Now the secret to the Mega Saw is 3 key things. 2 saw waveforms with a bunch of voices massively detuned. The second saw wave will be an octave higher. And with a clean saw as the sub. With some effects like distortion. And compression. By clicking this multiband option here, it'll squish the sound together, making it one. Then you can just fine-tune these adjustments based on your liking. Now let's hear what we got so far. So sick. Now this sounds really nice and gritty, however, it's still a little bit too plain. Get ready because I'm about to show you some secret sauce. Here's one way to add energy to a boring synth. Let's group together our synth and our vocal, treating them as one. And now let's call this drop. Now we're going to apply volume automation to this group. I'm gonna use Serum effects for this. Because they're grouped, any effects I put on the group will apply to both the synth and the vocal. I'm gonna use the LFO to control the volume. Imagine a volume knob that automatically moves up and down, creating a pulsating sound. This is what I like to do with volume automation. It's so sick. So we're gonna create a saw wave pattern for it, going down like this. This sounds so sick, but here is where it gets even more cool. We'll add a twist by automating the speed of the LFO, having it go from fast to slow, manipulating the time as if everything is like going to slow motion. I'm gonna do this by removing the BPM, and now the rate is fully controllable. I made a ton of sick Serum FX presets like this for my new pack Eclipse. To automate any parameter, press A on your keyboard or click this icon on the top right, and it'll switch to automation mode on Ableton. Then click a point and automate it down. Sounds so dope so far. Synth number 2, the Subsonic Boom. We're gonna create another MIDI track with Serum and have this F note as the drop bass. And I'm gonna open up one of my presets in Eclipse. So fat and dirty, I love it. Now in order to make an epic drop, you have to build anticipation. There's many ways to do this. What I'm gonna do is fake out the listener. So when it rises to the drop, I'm gonna take away the drums, and as the Mega Saw synth ends and right before this epic bass comes in, we're gonna add a drum fill and then drop it, making the drop that much sweeter. So sick. It's all about making everything come together for that single mind-blowing moment. Now, before we go into the final result, I have something incredible to share with you. I've crafted the most insane library of presets and sounds I've ever seen, and it's called Eclipse Production Suite. It's a complete toolkit for making mind-blowing music from scratch. Bonus number 1, Subsonic Serum presets. Over 100 jaw-dropping synth and bass presets. Bonus number 2 and 3, Neon Vocal Collection. Having a catchy vocal is the heart of electronic dance music. With my experience and an incredible team of vocalists, we put together a giant library of amazing, high-quality professional acapellas and vocal loops. It comes out January, and once 500 licenses are sold, it won't be available again, and those 500 producers will have an exclusive library of secret weapons to themselves. A special thanks to all you guys' support. We're at 150k subscribers. Thank you guys so much. Please leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm including everything in this project in the free sample kit of Eclipse. I highly recommend you download it for free and follow along this tutorial. Again, maybe watch it a couple times just to really nail down these tips. Now, what's a really important final step with these techniques is to modify and slightly adjust and tailor them to your own creative needs. If this specific effect that's going from fast to slow doesn't work for you, you can change it up by reversing it, maybe slow to fast, or maybe keeping it a steady, consistent speed. There's a million routes you can go with that. So I am gonna tweak this a bit, make it a bit more nicer. You will hear it in the final result.